This is Umar for BoxNation. I'm joined by Hall of Fame promoter Frank Warren. It's been a while. It's been a while actually since you've done any interviews on Face, anyways. You did one on Talk Sport yesterday, which we'll come on to, Frank, in due course. But I guess at the moment, from a Queensberry point of view, Frank, we're waiting for some big updates on your major guys. So we must be surely in the latter stages for the likes of Dubois, Sheeraz, etc.
We are. Till I get these things signed, I'm not going to say anything because we've done that in the past, and they fall apart, and people agree things and then change their mind if it gets out there. So till it's signed, it's not done. And once it's signed, we'll be making some announcements. There'll be
Okay.
some great announcements, and some really good Riyadh season announcements I know are being put together. So it's really exciting times for everybody.
From my understanding, obviously, normally things move very, very quickly with Riyadh season. This time for this Feb 22nd card, has it been, I'm guessing, a little bit more difficult to get things across the line?
No, I mean we spent a bit of time with the with Daniel and obviously with AJ, and that took a bit of momentum away as far as that particular fight was concerned. But we moved on from there, and we're in a good place. As I say, we got a couple of options there, and one of them will definitely be done very soon.
Okay. Just on Hamza, of course, he withdrew from the purse bids with Janibek. Now, he said he'd be fighting for a world title on Feb 22nd, but you didn't say against who. So I'm guessing, Frank, the world title, whatever world title it is, that is still the plan for Hamza on Feb 22nd.
Yeah, that's the intention, and fingers crossed we'll get that done. And obviously, the number two, who becomes the mandatory, is now Denzel. So he comes into the picture.
Absolutely. Yeah, obviously, he's got a big clash on December 7th against Brad Paul.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, we're blessed in the middleweight division, aren't we, in Britain,
We
really?
are. We always have been as a nation. We've been very lucky over here over the years. Certainly, well, long before I got involved in boxing, it's always been one of those divisions that Britain's excelled in. And you know, I'm looking forward as well. With Denzel and Brad Paul's fight. That's a cracking fight, and that bit of spice there now. That that the number two's in, that number two becomes the number one is really exciting.
Talking about being blessed in the middleweight division, did you watch the recent documentary on Amazon Prime, The Four Kings?
Yeah, I did. I did. Yeah, it was good. It was quite good.
Was it fairly accurate, everything that was described in that from your point of view?
Not all of it, but some. A lot of it was, but a lot of it wasn't. I'm going to say something. There's a fighter who doesn't get the accolades he should get, and that's Steve Collins. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He beat, we talk about that particular era. He beat them all. He beat Chris Senior. He beat Nigel, and he doesn't get the accolades he should get.
Is that because he's not English, or is that not correct?
He fought the fight. He was part of that. His fights were shown on at the time on the two channels on Sky, and I think it was ITV at the time. So he was part of all that.
What do you think the reasons are that he doesn't get the credit that the others do?
Probably because what you just said.
Really? Okay.
But he should get. But he should get it. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He should be in the Hall of Fame. He's a credit to Irish boxing, to all boxing, and and I mean, I promoted quite a few of his fights, and it was a pleasure to do so.
The way they sort of portrayed the Four Kings were, especially with like Bruno and Eubank, were that they were incredible like stars. Like if they were in today's era of social media, God knows how it would be. Was it really like that where they were household names, the four of them?
Well, Frank was with Mickey Duff, Terry Lawless with the cartel, and he had three opportunities to fight for the world title and acquitted himself well, but lost the three of them. And he came with me, and I think we gave him a couple of warm up. Well, we did. We gave him a couple of warm up fights. Then and Don King was my partner at the time, and I managed to get him. It was after Oliver Cole beat Lennox, and Lennox already had a win over Frank, and Frank was doing well in that fight still against Lennox at the time, and he had that win, and I got Don in a place where I said, and they really fancied that Oliver could beat Frank, and I really did fancy Frank would give him a problem. I really did feel that. And we went out and we watched. I remember going at the time. We went out to Vegas with his. He's passed away now. With George Francis, who was his trainer, and we went out to Vegas and we watched the fight with Larry Holmes and Oliver. And Oliver was a tough guy. He'd never been put on floor. He's a tough guy. And Larry Holmes was one of my favorite fighters. Great heavyweight, but he was well past his best. But he gave him a lot of problems with the way he had a fabulous jab, gave him a lot of problems. And I remember sitting there with George. I said, he can win, he can beat this fella, he can win this fight. And I said, I can get this fight on. And eventually I got it on. I talked Don into it. And it was a brilliant night. So that night was fabulous. It was at Wembley Stadium, the old Wembley. And Frank was magnificent, unbelievable. And he, just showed, don't give up on your dream. 3 fights, didn't do it. 4th one, he did it. And I was pleased that, he was with me. And I suppose my, what was a little bit of a cherry on the cake for me in the front row was Terry Lawless, Jarvis Astaire and Mickey Duff, who were part of the 4-man cartel. And and it happened. So it was a good night. It was just a really good time, and it worked. That was brilliant for Frank. Unfortunately, part of the deal was that he had to fight Mike Tyson in his very next fight, which is what he did. And the others, they were, big days for British boxing. Big fights. The Ben Eubanks fights, the second fight I had an involvement in that with Barry Hearn at the time and Don King. I did they got the British TV deal done for it. They were just fabulous fights. Really good fights.
And just one more on that. I didn't realise actually how sort of deep the rivalry went between Frank Bruno and Lennox Lewis, and that they only talked for the first time on that program due to some of the comments from Lennox, about Frank being an Uncle Tom, etc.
Well, that is listen. Funny thing is, I never really had a lot to do with Lennox. I co-promoted two of his fights, but I never had a lot to do with him because I didn't promote him. He was with Panos Eliades. He was with Roger Levitt the early days, and Frank Maloney sort of fronted up for him. And since I've got to know Lennox, he's one of the nicest blokes you could meet.
Yeah,
He's a lovely bloke, and I tell you, his son's a really nice young man, really lovely people. And it's a shame, really, because that's one of the worst things you can call a black guy or anyone, calling him an Uncle Tom. It's a horrible expression, and it was meant to get under his skin, and it really did get under him, and it affected him, and I think that it did. And I love Frank. We had some great times together, but I think that really did. I think that affected him mentally as well. I really do.
well, he admitted it. He admitted that it did. Yeah.
Yeah, it did. I know it did. He kept talking about it a lot, and it was very, very sad because he deserved better than that. It was, for a black fighter to come through back then and suddenly become the nation's favourite. You shouldn't say that to him. That shows you how everything was moving forward. Same with with Eubank and with Nigel. They were really, really, the nation took to them in a big way and supported them, bought tickets and watched them fight. Blacks and whites and whoever else. They got behind him. We got behind him as a nation because we love our sportsmen and our sport, and that showed. Then it was a good time.
Yes, before all four of them did so much for British sport, and the contrast. I know it was a bit before, but from what happened at Wembley Arena with Hagler and Minter, what happened in that ring, and the scenes that we saw that night? The contrast from then to that. Oh, you're shaking your head there. Was that as accurate as?
No, it was, but I mean, I was there. I went to that fight. I went to see that fight, and Alan said some stupid things before the fight, and it was, there's no need for it. And Marvin just showed what he was all about on the night. Marvin done what he had to do, and all that stuff. He had a few supporters who sort of supporters you don't particularly want at any event. A couple of them were there, but that was that was a real bad thing. I've been to football matches where you've heard shit and horrible stuff said. They were saying that was a moment of a bad moment in sport and at a time. But there's been, our sport. Look where we are now. I mean, in my time in boxing, whoever thought that a guy from Yemen would become world champion and would be, the nation would get behind him as they did with Naz. Hamza, Amir Khan. You look all the way through. We as a nation, we've got behind our and created our sporting heroes. They've done what they had to do, by the way, in the ring. But black, white, race, religion, whatever it is, we as a nation get behind our heroes. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely. Okay, someone that you want to make a hero one day, and he's doing very well at the moment, is Daniel Dubois. I was going to have some other questions for you, Frank, regarding Daniel Dubois, but something came out the blue today. I couldn't quite believe it, but he did message Jake Paul on Instagram offering him a fight. I mean, is that serious? Like, where are we at? Where are we at with that?
Oh, look, no one can offer any fights on behalf of Daniel except me and Queensberry. That's number one. Number two, would we do that fight in a heartbeat? Would Jake do it? No, I don't think. It's certainly not ready to be fighting a Daniel Dubois. But you know what? It is what it is. And Daniel's next fight, he's been up the office today, and Daniel's next fight will be sorted out very, very soon, as we said at the start of the interview.
That wasn't, when you referred to a left field interesting thing you were going to do for Dubois potentially, that wasn't it, was it, Jake?
No. Didn't even consider it.
In terms of
consider it. I mean, listen, Jake Paul is a genius. I mean, how many times have I said to you in interviews, I like Jake, I like Nikita. We've worked with them, we've done work with them. They're really, really nice people, and he's very smart, Jake. What you see is not for me, what I've seen of Jake isn't Jake when you sit down with him. Very intelligent guy, nice guy. Nikita's a really good bloke, and they're good. They've found their niche in the sporting market. He's gone from being a YouTuber to actually taking out a licensed box. He's fought licensed fighters. He fought Tommy Fury, got beat in say it's a very close contest, but there weren't a lot in the fight at a certain stage of it. And he's done brilliant well. What he's done, he's monetized his, if you want to call it, notoriety of his former background as being, was it a prankster or candid camera, as we called it in my day. He's done all that. He's done that brilliantly and very cleverly. And the fight that they did, or the event, I should say, they did at the weekend, was a bloody good event. There was some good fights on the card. The main event was what it was. And would he fight Daniel Dubois? If he did, I'm being very honest, if he did, that would probably be the end of his career as a boxer. He's not ready for a Daniel Dubois. Will he ever be ready for? I don't know. But he's got a niche at the moment. And what he does extremely well.
So, Frank, I understand now, like, Jake Paul is the money in the room at the moment. I mean, they've just done an $18 million gate in Dallas, which is staggering. MVP announced that today. So I understand why you likes Daniel Dubois, Artur Beterbiev has called him out. Carl Froch is calling him out. Look, I get it. He's the money in the room, but is this getting a bit ridiculous now? We're getting the top fighters in the sport calling out a novice.
No, because they're all probably, look, first of all, they're very, very experienced fighters coming with strong amateur backgrounds, professionals, that they've been world champions or are world champions. I'm quite sure they think the experience that they've got and where they are in their careers, that they they'll win the fight. Is he going to fight them? He'd be crazy if he fights them. Unless he wants to just say, right, I'll roll the dice and try and see how I can go against one of these guys. You know, he hasn't got the experience to beat them yet, that's for sure, in my opinion. But that's, my opinion doesn't matter in it. He's the Netflix thing. At one stage, I think I understand it was racking up $300,000 a minute. And you look at their share price. Their share price flew today. It jumped. I think it was 2.5% on the strength of that. So that's, although I don't look at that, a 58-year-old man, as being a fight as I would look, or you and I would look at as a fight. It's an event. That particular it was a fight, but it's not what we would look to, where we come from, our boxing background. It would have, I don't look at it. When he fought Tommy Fury, yeah, it was a fight because it was pretty even. Tommy's was a novice light heavyweight at the time. I think, an 8-rounder. It was what it was. And there is a lot of money in the room for it. And there's a lot of money because probably Mike Tyson, his notoriety, people buying into, they want to shut up the braggard's mouth. Mike Tyson would do it and so forth. But Mike Tyson, as I say, 58 years old. He hadn't fought, 25 years, or whatever it was. And he's had a bit of fun a lot of fun over those years, growing his cannabis and probably at times being his best customer. It is what it is. And anyone who's, complaining about it and moaning about it, I don't get where they're at. What did they expect? Paul Gascoigne says, if Paul Gascoigne said, I'm coming back tomorrow, I'm going to go and play for England. And, some young back, I'm not talking about international level. Is he going to do the business? Of course he's not. So the hardest of all sports, boxing, you don't think someone at 58 is going to be there for, you're lucky, like I said, when we've done a couple of previews, you talked about tall sport. I said, for a round, you might get a bit out of him. After that, he's going to be blown out of his arse. And that's what happened. It is what it is. And I don't get why anybody, some of the people are moaning. I don't know what did they expect?
Well, he was shot 2 decades ago, Mike Tyson. So
say that again?
He was shot 2 decades ago, Mike Tyson. He couldn't fight.
Mike Tyson 2 decades and part ago, I made a match for Danny Williams. Danny Williams was with me. We got the opportunity to make the fight. And I said to Danny, I sat him down, I said, Dan, this fella, for 2 rounds, you'll get vintage Mike Tyson. He will hit you with everything. You've got to tuck up. You got to keep your distance, just tuck up, don't get caught. I said, and then after 2 rounds, you'll do a job on him. And that's what he did. I mean, he went in there, Danny Williams. He was like 100 to 1 against. He went in there. So he hasn't improved in that period of time. Albeit that, that he is a professional fighter now, Jake. He is a professional fighter. That's what he does. He's licensed. But he didn't have the experience of Danny Williams. Like Danny Williams fought, he fought for Europeans, British titles. And after that fight, went and fought for the world title against Klitschko. And as I say, it's beyond me how some people in the media, the way they're going on about this, everyone's been taken on. Well, you must be, it's your money. No one puts your arm up your back and says, watch this thing. That's your choice. And if you felt you was going to get something extra special, that's your choice. For me, I thought if Mike Tyson catches him in the first round, if he catches him, big if, that's the only chance he's got of winning. After that, I can't see him winning the fight. And it turned out actually the signal went down. I watched it the next morning after all that. And it was one of them as well. I had no intention of sitting up and watching it. I thought, I'll catch it later, but I was awake and I did. See a couple of good fights on there. The two ladies done brilliantly. And as that Mexican fight was a very, very competitive fight, bloody good fight. But unfortunately, it was what it was. It was what it was. It was a 58-year-old man in there doing the best he can. And at the age of 58, you ain't going to be doing too good as a fighter.
Was it a bit sad to watch?
Yeah, but it's sad to watch, but he was in there for a reason, Mike Tyson. He was in there for money. And that's his choice. It's dangerous. It's the most dangerous sport to be in. It's not, that fight couldn't happen in the UK under British Boxing Board of Control. It couldn't happen probably in Vegas or most places. It happened where it happened. And by the way, there was an appetite for it. Was it 75,000 people in the stadium? I mean, 60 odd million people watching it on Netflix. Come on.
Well, 60 million homes. So if you do like 3 or 4
Or homes, or whatever, yeah, 60 million. So that tells you it's driven their share price up. So it ticks all the boxes for what's set out to do.
What can Jake
except for being a very entertaining fight.
yeah. Well, I don't know what anyone else expected, to be honest, but that's besides the point. With Jake now, like he's done the UFC guys. He's now fought a 58-year-old, be it a legend, but he's 58 years old. He's a granddad, Mike Tyson. What does Jake do now? Because he can generate the money, but he's got to be obviously careful about his next move. Can't get in there with a Beterbiev or a Dubois.
Well, he said that after he got beat by
Tommy.
He found his next move. There's fights there for him. Remember, they was talking about McGregor, weren't there, at one time? I don't know. There's lots of
maybe he'll call you out next, Frank.
Look, he don't want to be doing that, does he? I mean, he will be in trouble. No, it's I'm really the wrong person to be asking about this because
I get it.
It's not my thing. I'm not into it. We got involved in the one with Tommy, but I did that because for Tommy, what's he going to do? Have an 8-rounder in Britain on a card, get paid a bit more money because he's Tommy Fury, right? Than you'd pay someone for an 8-round fight, but he weren't going to earn many millions of dollars. So it was a no-brainer for him. And it was a fight, and same for Jake. Jake actually stepped up to fight somebody who was a licensed boxer. What does he do now? Whatever you want to say about him, the one thing is he trains, he works hard. He does. It's not like the fella's just saying, right, I'm going to fight this guy, Mike Tyson. He actually trains for the fights. He works hard. He does what he has to do. So what's he going to do next? There'll be people there for him to fight, and people like him or hate him, whatever it is, they'll pay for it. So God bless him. Good luck, man.
What was your issue with Tony Bellew yesterday on TalkSport?
Well, I mean, he's slagging it off, and he's out there making money off of it. He was out there, weren't he, with who was the betting company?
I believe Paddy Power.
Yeah, well, so he should be embracing Jake Paul for giving him letting him earn a few quid going out there, doing whatever he was doing, which was all, it's all quite funny. I mean, Paddy Power ads are brilliant. I love them. All their sporting ads. I mean, they're really, really good fun. But he got paid for it. I bet he didn't pay his own fare out there. They paid for him to go out there. So stop knocking it. What you're doing there, if you feel so bad about it, you shouldn't be there.
Okay. What did you make of
it's the same bloke who said, it's the same bloke, by the way, who said that when AJ was fighting, when the AJ fight was made with Daniel, that Daniel will get taken away in a hospital in an ambulance. There's a nice thing to say.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. The two ladies who fought in that incredible rematch, Taylor and Serrano, which now talking about positives about Jake Paul and MVP, that certainly is, because the whole world was watching that. A fight between two consummate professionals. It was a fantastic fight, just like the first.
It was.
The two questions on this: your thoughts on the actual fight, and secondly, where does Chantel Cameron fit into all this?
She should fight. She should fight the winner. She should fight her. Let's do it. It's a good fight. And the fight, it was, did you say it was a very competitive fight between the two of them? Very competitive fight. They did themselves proud, and they done boxing proud, and done women's boxing proud.
I think it's fair to say, look, Katie Taylor's in the right, last part of her career. She's been in many wars, and she's done amazing for the sport. But you're going to back Chantel. You believe that She does a job on Katie Taylor in their rematch.
I think it's a great fight. It's a great fight between the two of them, and it's a fight that everybody'd like to see. It was very controversial, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we need to, and I'm sure everybody would like to see that game. Go and do it in Ireland. Go and do it in Dublin,
Okay. I'm
or
sure.
in England, or over in the UK.
Sure, you and Eddie can get that on, no problem.
Me and Ed, we're going to talk about that one.
What actually talking about Eddie? What did you? I don't know if you saw many of the clips, but obviously that he's in a court case with MVP and Jake Paul over some previous stuff. There seemed to be a lot of tension between Eddie and MVP and Nikita. He weren't being allowed on the press conference table when Katie won, etc. He went ballistic in the ring when Katie won. Nikita again wasn't too happy about that. Jake's not very happy with him. Did you see much of that?
No, because I told you I lost the signal and I only flitted through the fight. It's only the next day or the day after, because obviously the time difference, that I sort of read and see what had gone down. So I was unaware. I didn't watch the press conferences or anything. I hadn't seen them.
Well, he wasn't going to be allowed up there in the first place, but he managed to get up there.
There you go up there. So that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's it. Okay, we had a fantastic main event on Saturday night in Riyadh between Zurdo
Yeah.
Ramirez and Billam-Smith. An incredible showing from Billam-Smith. The heart, the desire he showed, but ultimately that there was a difference in levels in there, and Zurdo was class in there on Saturday night. What did you take away from it?
I think all the things you just said. Chris, I don't know him. Everybody I speak to in the business says what a nice bloke he is. And he'd done himself proud. I mean, he showed grit. He was there right to the end, giving the best he could give. He was in with a good fighter in Ramirez, who obviously has come up in weight. What was he, 33 now? He obviously didn't bring up the power, so much power in that weight, but I mean, he outboxed him. But Chris showed tremendous courage, tremendous courage.
Yeah, I mean, talking about Zurdo, maybe if Usyk comes down one day to cruiserweight, fighting him or fighting the winner of Bivol Beterbiev, if that rematch happens and maybe they go to cruiserweight. How talented do you think Zurdo is? I don't know how much you've seen of him, but
Sorry, how talent do I think he is?
Zurdo, yeah.
Yeah, I think he's very talented. He's no doubt about that. But that fight on the Riyadh season big event on the 21st of December. That's a huge fight, huge rematch fight. And Daniel's coming out for it. I've been with Daniel today. Daniel will be fighting himself in February, but he's looking at that fight. And you talked about Usyk. I genuinely do believe that Tyson will win that fight. But if he does, they'll probably have a rubber match, third match. But Usyk and Daniel, what a return that would be. That would be really interesting fight too.
So should Daniel come through Feb 22nd? I know you don't believe this, but should Usyk come through his rematch on December 21st? Do you think do you think I know it sounds weird because he won the first fight, but do you think Usyk will want to get in with this version of Daniel Dubois, Frank? At his stage of this career where he's done everything.
Well, he's saying at this stage of it would be a unification match. It'd be the four belts on the line, wouldn't it, if that happened? I really genuinely do not believe that's going to happen, no, because I genuinely believe Tyson I believe Tyson will prevail and win that fight.
Why is that?
Because I think he should have done it the first time. I think that moment in the fight where he got caught on the nose and he's in the seventh round, and it seemed to change the whole direction of the fight for a few rounds. And Tyson's a smart guy. He's won all of his rematches by knockout, and he learns from fights. And that fight had taken a lot out of both of them. But on the night, it looked to me like it took more out of Usyk than it did out of Tyson on the night.
And the interesting thing, I guess, about this rematch is that now they've shared 12 rounds with each other, they'll know more about each other. So in that aspect, they should actually both improve in that aspect.
Well, it's who it's what you learn about them, but what you can do to stop doing what they do well, and who is going to be able to do that. Who's going to, be 100% focused for 100% of the time ensuring they don't let the mistakes or the chinks in their armor that were there in the last fight. And I think Tyson's boxing brain, and by the way, you know, Alexandra's got a fabulous boxing brain as well. But I just think Tyson knows what he has to do to win this fight. I think the last fight was his to lose, and I think this time round, it's his to win.
In your heart of hearts, you mentioned it there, and Tyson's referred to it. If he does do it, in opinion, when he does do it, you think that the trilogy will happen between those two? Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to one up it unless they retire, which could be could happen.
Well, I know you say it's got to, but contractually it doesn't. Tyson could look at a fight with Daniel Dubois, two Brits. He could look at a fight with Joshua.
If Tyson wins, Tyson either he can or Usyk, if they retire, they retire. But if they don't, that happens.
Okay. All right, Frank. Is there? Well, look, you got your Mag 7 show December 7th at Wembley.
Yeah, good fights, very good fight. That situation now that Hamzah's going in a different direction has opened the door for Denzel, who's number 2 in the WBO. So he's now number 1. So Brad and him is a significant, even more significant fight now.
Frank, can I just actually ask on that Feb 22nd card? Obviously, we know you're looking to get Daniel out, you're looking to get Hamzah out. Is there any more other Queensberry fighters on that card you're looking at?
I hope so.
All right.
We'll announce them. Look, we'll announce them when they're ready to announce, when things are signed. And, we've got, over 3.5 months yet. And most importantly, it's a Riyadh season show. So it'll be a Riyadh season announcement. It won't be a Queensberry announcement.
But I'm guessing everyone wants to get it done before Christmas, yeah?
Of course, you want to get it out, want to get tickets on sale and so forth. Absolutely. It will be done before Christmas. I believe we'll be in a position within the next couple of weeks to do it. I think a couple of the fights we could announce them next week, but we won't do that unless all the others are all signed up, so we can hopefully announce the whole card.
Okay.
Through Riyadh season. It's a Riyadh season show.
Yeah. I know we actually talked about it the day it happened when Paco stepped down from the WBO, and obviously Gustavo's taken the reins there. Have you had a chance to catch up with Paco much, and how's he doing in his
I
own
had to
environment?
apologise for not being able to attend. He's a big friend of mine, a personal friend, and I've got great admiration for him as a person, as a boxing man. He's led the WBO from strength to strength, and I've wished him all the best for the future. He's a top bloke. He goes back to being Wilfredo Vasquez's lawyer. Before he got into it, he's boxing through and through. And he's a very, very good judge. He knows the game, and very shrewd man. And he'll be missed. But having said that, Gustavo, who's been his protege, is a very intelligent guy. Again, lawyer's brain, and it's in safe hands. They've got a very good committee, and they carry on getting stronger and stronger. It's boxing's. It's in a good place, and he's been part of making that happen. A very big part of a lot of British fighters' careers in the opportunities that the WBO gave to British fighters. Naz, Ben, Eubank, Enzo McAnally, Lennox, Herbie Hyde. I mean, I can reel them all off. All the fighters over the years. Naz, as I said, loads and loads of them. Have fought for and won that title, and it's been great. It was great for one of the leading organisations for British boxing.
Actually, I saw Moses Atama, your young gun, got some good recognition out there at the convention with the WBO.
He did, and quite rightly so. He's their youth champion.
Okay, Frank, I appreciate your time. I'm sure we'll catch up soon. And thank you very much.
We certainly will, young man. You all okay? Everything good?
All good here, Frank. Yourself?
Yeah, good. I like that picture behind you.
It's not mine. Sell it to you if you want, though.
You're nicking it out the hotel room, huh?
Cheers, Frank.
How are you going to get that in? How are you going to get that in your case? Because those towels at the hotel, they're very fluffy, aren't they? You're just to be able to close your case, won't you?
All right, that's enough now, Frank. Have a good day.
That's
Cheers.
me, mate. Bye. Bye.